yesterday's class. Okay. So I think I'll discuss once again on the yesterday's topic itself. That is the ore minerals introduction and all things. Okay. Is the PPT visible? Yes. Is the PPT being visible?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay. Okay. Right. So yesterday, I think, is there any questions on all these things? So I'll discuss on the uses of the hematite. Okay. So yesterday I got this itself. So they told me that they didn't get from the uses of the hematite and other things. So, you very important use of the hematite is it occurs. It is used mainly as a pigment. Okay. So pigment means anything which is used for the painting purposes. So this name hematite is derived from a Greek word hematitis. Okay, it is derived from this Greek word called hematitis, which means blood red. Okay, any mineral which is of that blood red in color is called hematitis. Hematitis. So it derives when it is being crushed from the fine powder. Okay, so this primitive people, as I already told you, the ancient nomadic man who was actually a wanderer, he used this hematite in the powdered form to paint them on the walls of the caves where he lived. Okay, now you might have heard that the ancient nomadic man who was a wanderer. Okay, so he used to stay in the caves. Okay, where all he stayed in the caves of any part of the globe, he used this hematite, he powdered them and added some liquid to it, and he drew the paintings on the walls of the caves. Okay, so these pictographs, which dates back to around 40 to 50,000 years ago, were created with this hematite pigments only. Okay, so then coming to the gem material, yes, it is also used as a gem material because of its solid uniform texture and also a silvery color. Okay, so and then healing stone. Yesterday itself I have discussed about this healing stone. Yes, for certain mental disorders, this hematite is used as a healing stone. But is there any proof from the medical concept or the medical background? Till now or till date, there is no any such proofs available that this will bring relief from certain medical problems. But it is believed that certain medical disorders are being cured by using this hematite. Okay, I don't know how, but it has got a very important positive effect on the patients who use this hematite as a healing stone. So in one part of Vinobnagara, I don't know exactly the address of that place, but in somewhere in Vinobnagara, there is called a healing therapy that is being going on. Okay, so what they do is usually they use this hematite, this magnetite, this other crystals for healing certain diseases. Okay, they make this in the form of pyramids. Okay, they make them in the form of pyramids, and they use them for the healing purposes. Okay, healing certain disorders which are related to ill health and other things. Is there any proof for it? So medically there is no such proofs that is being available. But yes, people use these gemstones from very long back. The use of this gemstone is not a new concept, but the use of these gemstones dates back to centuries ago, where the ancient kings were using this 9 gemstones, precious stones, for their welfare. Okay, So what that does create means, it when the vibrations of the sun rays fall on that gemstone, that vibrations will be absorbed by the body. Okay, so which may in turn increase the elemental disorder that is present in the body. Okay, there may be minute elemental disorders which will be present in the body, and by using certain gemstones, the vibrations that will be matched by that gemstone will be matched by our body, and the elementals will be absorbed by our body, and some of the elemental disorders may be cured. Okay, so by that way the positive energy may be gained. Okay, that's why the use of this precious stones is not a new concept, but it goes back to centuries beyond. Okay, so then coming to the other uses, it is also used as a effective material for stopping the x-rays. That's why the medical equipment which are being available, we can see they are all coated with this hematite itself. Okay, that is the iron ore. And also it is used as a making of the ballast. That is your bottom covering is being made from the iron ore itself. The hematite itself is used to make the bottom covering of the ships, and also it is used for the polishing compounds also. Okay, so then coming to the magnetite. So magnetite means it is a very common iron oxide which is chemically composed of Fe3O4, and it is found in all three types of rocks, that is igneous, sedimentary and the metamorphic rocks. It is most commonly mined by the ore of the iron, and it contains the highest iron content of 72.4%. Yes, in India, Kudremukh and Kemmangundi are the only two places where magnetite is being available. Yes, hematite is available in all the places like your Sandur, Hospet, Ballari, your Donimala hill ranges, your Chitradurga, the parts of Hosdurga, the parts of the Chiknaiknalli, your parts of your other places in the Bagalkot. You can get this hematite, but magnetite is not available everywhere. But the only place in India where you can find the magnetite ore is the Kemmangundi. Okay, so then coming to the lodestone means any magnetite material which has got the capacity to attract the particles. Okay, to attract other particles, if anything has got a chances, then it is called as a lodestone. Okay, so this property of the small pieces of iron to attract them is called as a lodestone, and this itself encountered by the human being developed an interest in making of the magnets. Okay, so the chemical physical properties, you can show it is chemically classified as oxide, which colors varies from black to silvery gray, which gives a black streak. This is the only difference where you can find out between hematite and a magnetite. The only difference between hematite and magnetite is in the streak, apart from its color. Okay, hematite gives a cherry red streak, whereas magnetite gives a black streak. Okay, and hematite is almost bluish specularite in color, bluish gray in color, but magnetite is almost black in color. Okay, otherwise both of them there is no difference at all. Between two minerals. Okay, now these are some of the pictographs or pictures of the magnetite. We can see this is a lodestone where you can find the small pieces of the iron which is being attracted to it. You can see the small pieces of the iron which are being attracted to the body of the magnetite. Okay, so this is the powdered form of the magnetite. So this is a lodestone, and this is a magnetite, and these are the magnetite crystals. Okay, so then what are the uses of the magnetites? See, so these are the very important uses of the magnetite, that is as a iron ore of iron. Okay, taconite is a rock that contains, it's a sedimentary rock which contains hematite, magnetite and a chert. Chert is nothing but a part of quartz. It is called as a quartz only. Okay, so once it was considered as a waste material, but now it is used as a high grade ores. Okay, usually they contain about 25 to 30% of iron. So now the technology is improved in such a way that if only 10% of iron is present within the ore, then you can extract iron from them. Now you cannot leave anything as a waste product. Once upon a time, during our forefathers, they used to mine the high grade ores only. Okay, which was called as a selective mining. Okay, selective mining means they used to pick up the high grade portions from the ground. Okay, so what the waste they considered them as a waste product, today we are using them as a high grade product. Okay, when our forefathers discarded the materials considering them as a waste product, we are utilizing that waste product as a high grade ores. You just imagine what is the percentage of the iron that were available that day. Okay, now we say that 70% of iron is a high grade ore. Okay, but during olden days or centuries back ago, that 70% was considered to be a waste product for them, which means to say they used to mine somewhere around 80 to 90%, 95 to 98% of the iron material. Okay, they used to mine 95 to 98%. 100% of the ore is not available apart from your native elements, but they used to mine around somewhere around 98%. So they used to leave the 70% ore as a waste product, but we are using this 70% of the ore product as a high grade ore, and we are considering some of the very small ones as a waste product. Okay, so in coming days what happens is, what the waste product we leave off, that is the small contains ores, that will be considered as a high grade for the next generation. Now for example, we discard any material which is of 30 to 40%. No, 20 to 30% is discarded. Okay, not 40%, but 20 to 30% is usually discarded. But in coming days, that 20 to 30% also will become high grade ores because of the lack of availability of the materials, lack of availability of the high grade materials. Okay, so then coming to the use of magnetite as a heavy media, yes, it is used in the specific gravity separations, especially in the coal particles which have got a low specific gravity, and they use them for the cleaning purposes, and also in the pyrite, that is separation of the iron. Okay, so it is used as abrasive. Yes, magnetite is also used as abrasive. Now I have given the definition for both the abrasive and the refractory. Make note of it because this is a very important question. It may arise in your exam papers also. Okay, abrasive means any material which can has the which has got the capacity to withstand very high pressure. Any material which has got the capacity to withstand very high pressure. Therefore, it is used for polishing and cutting purposes. Okay. On the other hand, refractories are the ones which has got the capacity to withstand very high temperature. Clear? So abrasives are the ones which can withstand very high pressure, and refractories are the ones which has got the capacity to withstand very high temperature. Okay, so refractories they use for the purposes of the lining the bricks. Okay, for lining the bricks they use them, whereas the abrasives are used for the polishing purposes. They are used for the polishing purposes. Now you can know that emery. Emery is a natural mixture of magnetite and corundum. You can see that the carpenters usually use this emery paper for polishing the wood doors or lintels or anything like that, the window panes, anything like that. And before painting also, they will scrub the old paint particles by this emery paper, using this emery paper itself. Okay, it's a very good abrasive. Okay, so that emery is nothing but a natural mixture of magnetite and corundum. Okay, So sometimes what happens is even synthetic emery is also being produced by mixing magnetite with a aluminum oxide particles. And also what they do is they finely ground magnetite is also used as a abrasive in water jet cutting. And also synthetic abrasives are being manufactured from the past 2 3 decades. And now the synthetic abrasives have taken the place of the magnetites. Okay, so then coming to the other uses, yes, there are also other uses of the magnetite like a toner in electrophotography. In olden days, you can see that the photographs was not taken on a digital camera, but it was taken on a camera which had a film being involved in it. Okay, they used to have a film in it, and that film, the top and the bottom of the film was coated with this magnetite strip. That's why they used to say that don't expose the film onto the sunlight. Okay, it will be processed in a dark room only. If you expose them onto sunlight, then the film may get damaged. Okay, and also as a micronutrient in fertilizers, yes, iron is a very important micronutrient which is used for the growth of the plants. Okay, and also as a pigment in paints and as a aggregate in the high density concretes. Okay, so I was explaining about this blast furnace yesterday. Okay, so what happens is this is a typical example for a blast furnace where how iron and the other particles are being separated. Okay, how iron is being beneficiated in Bhadravati and other places where the iron is being extracted, it is usually done in a blast furnace itself. Okay, so this is top opening where you can say that it contains of a cup and cone arrangement. Okay, this place is called as a opening for the furnace, which contains usually the cup and cone arrangement. Whenever the materials like the iron ore, the other melting materials and the coke is being added into the furnace from the top. Okay, it runs through a conveyor belt. There is a conveyor belt which takes the materials to the top, and then when the materials are reached here, the cup opens down, the materials are being added into the furnace, and once the materials added is being completed, the cone comes to the top, the cup closes. Okay, so that is made. So once it is being stopped, you cannot again add the materials until 8 hours. Okay, so that's why what they do is for usually 8 hours one shift is being done. So what happens is the reaction starts at different levels. So what usually they do is along with the iron they mix small amount of coke into the material. Coke is nothing but your calcined carbon, the not the coke which you drink, but it is the calcined carbon. Okay, charcoal. The charcoal is processed to form a coke. The charcoal is processed to form a coke. Okay, charcoal, what happens is it there are different forms of charcoal. You get the bituminous variety, you get the anthracite variety, you get the peat variety, you get the lignite variety. The anthracite varieties are the very best particles which contains highest amount of carbon in them. Okay, usually the anthracite and the bituminous ones are only used for the production of the coke. Okay, so then what happens is the coke particles along with the iron start smelting. Okay, so they start this furnace, this lining where you can see this is being usually done with the lining bricks which are called as a refractory bricks. Okay, so that the refractory bricks are the ones which will never allow the external temperature to come inside the furnace nor the internal temperature to escape out of the furnace. Okay, so the internal temperature will remain in the internal part of the furnace and external temperature will not have any action on the internal part of the furnace. Okay, so what happens is it starts its reaction. You can see that coke and iron ore are layered on one above the other. Okay, so there are a lot of reactions that take place, and at the same time small amount of calcium carbonate is also being added into the furnace. So at a temperature of 1823 degrees, pure iron will be removed from one part, that is at the bottom part, and the slag, which is having a density higher than that of the iron, floats on top of the iron. Okay, slag is nothing but the waste product, that is a mixture of calcium magnesium silicates. Calcium magnesium silicates, the mixture of calcium magnesium silicates is called as a slag, and the bottommost area, which is slightly lighter than that of slag, remains at the bottom. Okay, so this is removed from one place and this will be removed from the other place. The hot iron will be in the form of molten magma itself, which is being opened or tapped out from the mud covering. Okay, oxygen will be blown and it will be removed in the form of the mud covering, and it flows through the sand and it drops into the ladle. Okay, so this is how exactly you can say there are a lot of hot air, that is oxygen, that is being blown into the furnace. Okay, to induce the reactions, to induce the reaction. Okay, so this is the place where you can say the coke is being mixtured and it gets converted into calcium magnesium silicates. Okay, and the amount of limestone is also added, so that the silica content, the calcium content, the magnesium content which is present within the iron are being separated. Only pure iron will go down into the furnace as a pig iron, and the remaining ones, the waste products, are also associated, which is called as a slag, which floats on top of the pig iron. Okay, so if you have seen in Bhadravati, yes, we have seen it in Bhadravati, where the furnace operations were being in full fledged. We had visited at that time itself, and yes, it was a very beautiful experience to see that this blast furnace, working of this blast furnace. Okay, it's a very beautiful experience, once in a lifetime. How to visit all those things and see how exactly the furnace working conditions takes place and what are the conditions that work. Only three are the very difficult or toughest jobs in the whole earth. One is working in a blast furnace, one is working in a underground mines, because at both the places you don't know what will happen at what time. Okay, working in an underground mine is also not a very easy task, as well as working in a blast furnace is also not a very easy task. Okay, so then coming to the chromite, so next important ore of the iron, or along with the material, is called as a chromite, which is called a chrome oxide. Okay, so it is an oxide mineral which is composed of chromium, iron and oxygen. The chemical composition is FeCr2O4. Okay, so yes, in Karnataka, is there any chromite deposits being available? Yes, in Nuggehally cyst belt of the Tiptur, you can find this chromite deposits. Okay, Nuggehally cyst belt is called Nuggehally is a place in Tiptur where you can find this chromite. Okay, so there were a lot of the underground mines also which were available in Tagadur. You have got a place called Bhairapura in Tiptur where all these mines were being available. Now Bhairapura operations have been closed down, but the operations are being continued in the parts of Tagadur and Nuggehally where you get this chromite. Yes, chrome is a very important element or metal which is used for the manufacture of stainless steel. Okay, and also the manufacture of light combat aircrafts, so LCS. So typically DRDO, Defense Research Development Organization, the DRDO, uses this chromium metal for the production of this light combat aircrafts which are used as a war jets or the war planes. Okay, it requires the light metal or the light material for the flow. Okay, so this it is a mixture of chromium, iron and oxygen. It is chemically composed of FeCr2O4. It is dark gray to black in color with a metallic to submetallic luster and has got a high specific gravity. Okay, so occurrences, yes, it occurs in all the three igneous rocks itself and also in metamorphic sedimentary rocks, but it is mostly occurring in high concentration in the igneous rocks only. Okay, coming to the physical properties, the chemical classification, it is classified under oxides and having a color of dark gray to black color, rarely brownish black color. Okay, so this brownish black varieties are available from the parts of Africa, that is your Nigeria. Parts of Nigeria, you can find these brownish black varieties, but dark gray to black color are the common ones which are found in Karnataka and all over the parts of the globe. So streak is dark brown, so luster is metallic to submetallic and having a definite of opaqueness. No light can be transmitted through that mineral. So this do not possess any cleavages and has a hardness of 5.5 to 6 and has got a specific gravity of 4 to 5.1, which is varies. So diagnostic properties, again the luster and the streak are the very important diagnostic properties by virtue of which we can identify the mineral, and also having a chemical composition of FeCr2O4. Sometimes magnesium will be substituting for the iron. MgCr2O4 is also being present, but iron itself is mostly concentrated within the chromite. Okay, so coming to the crystal system is isometric and has an important ore of chromium. Now, so these are the chromium part, these are the chromiums. Okay, so this is one called ruby. Okay, so the ruby is the one, manikya, which is called in Kannada, is a very precious stone which is being used by ancient man, and so some of the person use this manikya or the ruby. Okay, so now the color of many gemstones is derived from the trace amounts of chromium only. The red color of the rubies, the pink color of some sapphires, and also the green color of the emeralds are due to the presence of this chromium as a impurity. Okay, so now ruby usually contains the pink varieties are also very common. The green varieties of the emerald is because of the presence of chromium as an impurity, and also this red color is also attributed to the presence of this chromium as a impurity. Clear? So now coming to the uses of the chromite and the chromium. See, chromium is a metal which is used to induce the hardness, toughness and chemical resistance in steel. See, chemical corrosion should not take place in steel. Okay, you can see that steel will never get corroded by external air or external oxygen. Okay, due to the presence of the external air or oxygen, steel will not be broken down into rust. Okay, that is because of use of this chromium as a byproduct within the manufacture of the stainless steel. So use of this chromium itself gives that toughness, the hardness into the steel. Okay, so the alloy is produced which is known as stainless steel. It is used with iron and nickel. It when you use the alloy of the iron and nickel, it is called nichrome, which is used in resistant of the high temperatures. So the uses, the nichrome is used in making the heating units, ovens and other applications. Okay, so usually the electric bulbs, the filament is usually made of the nichrome itself. The ones that are being the incandescent bulbs which are used in the houses. Okay, even in your bikes, the bulbs which you are going to use as the halogen bulbs or anything like that, they contain small filaments, and that filaments are made up of alloy of nickel and iron. Okay, so thin coatings of chromium alloys are also used as platings on auto parts. You can see the spare parts, it is being used as a auto parts, appliances and also other particles, and also they are given the name as chrome plated. Because of this chrome plated itself, the automobile parts will never get rusted. Okay, you can see the engines are sometimes are being coated with a alloy of this chrome plating, because it has to induce the rusting. Okay, it has to stop the rusting action of rust on the vehicles. Okay, on the engine parts. That's why it is being given chrome plated. Sometimes it is also used to make the super alloys that can perform well in the hot, corrosive and also high stress environments of the jet engines. So these jet engines are the ones which are especially used in the satellites. Okay, to maintain that temperature constant when the satellite or the rocket comes down to the earth, or it is being flown into the environment. Okay, before the launching of the environment or during the launching of the environment, or whenever the rocket is coming back to the from space to the earth, it has to maintain the temperature. So that's why the super alloys of the chromium is used in the manufacture of that jet engines. Okay, so it derives its name from the Greek word which means chroma, which means color. It has got some color in name. So chromium is used as a pigment in paints also. So you can see the yellow lines which are drawn on the center of the highways. You can see in the roads where yellow lines are being coated. Okay, so that yellow color and also the yellow paint which are used on the school buses are also chrome yellow, which is a color produced from the chromium pigment itself. Okay, so on the highways you can see the yellow color being painted on the roads. The roads will be sometimes painted with yellow colors. The buses, school buses, will be especially painted with yellow color. Okay, so they are because of a color that is being produced from a chromium pigment. And also chromium is a very important pigment which is having many types of paint, ink, dyes, and the cosmetics also. So small amounts of the chromium which produce the color in many minerals and gemstones also, like the red color of the ruby, the pink color of some sapphires, and the green color of emerald is caused by tiny amounts of this chromium only. Okay, so I think I'll stop my discussion here. If you have got any questions, you can ask me now. All of you drop in your name and USN, and I'm going to update your attendance now in few minutes. Has anybody got any questions? Because all these things will be asked in the question paper. They may ask for 5 marks to ask and discussion right properties of the chromite and their uses, or they may ask for the 15 marks on 2 or 3 important ore minerals. Has everybody joined the Google Classroom? I'm going to post the notes and materials that should be useful for you people. And also by next week, I'm going to conduct a test for 20 marks, which will be used for a CIE and as well as a internal assessment. Okay. So if there is no questions, I'm going to stop the meeting here. We shall continue discussion next class. Thank you.